What a year 2021 was, and I don't say that lightly. I thought today it was important for us to reflect on the past year in 2021, unpacking all of the narratives, all of the major pieces of news, and the different sectors and companies that emerged over the past year, while also looking forward to 2022 and thinking about how the markets and economy are positioned and how these different events from the past year can help to inform our investing strategies moving forward into the new year. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. If you're new here, welcome. We make daily videos each and every day and we'd love to have you join the community. So make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on so you won't miss any of the daily episodes. Reflecting on the past year as we came out of the pandemic and lockdowns, with the economic recovery in full swing, there was fiscal stimulus, ultra loose monetary policy, and as you can see, just reflecting on the collage, so many different pieces of news and events that really encapsulated one of the most tumultuous but unique years we'll ever experience on markets. I'd love to know your thoughts on it all, so as we go through this video, drop in a comment below. What were your highlights of the past year that was, and what are you looking forward to heading into 2022, moving forward into the new year? First and foremost, how could we reflect on the past year without reflecting on Elon Musk and his impact on it? Firstly, Tesla became one of the most valuable companies in the world. It surpassed the fabled $1 trillion market cap mark. But most importantly, it really heralded this new transition with electric vehicles coming to the forefront of the discussion. We know that decarbonisation is an important narrative that continues to grow with the ESG movement, and Tesla is standing right on the forefront of this transition. We also saw that Elon Musk has the ability to change the markets with a single tweet. Most notably with his involvement with Tesla, as well as the cryptocurrency space. I'm sure many of you will reflect on his discussion surrounding Dogecoin as well. But it was fascinating as we saw the new world, the new digital and more digitally integrated world with Elon Musk at the forefront of it. We also saw spaceflight arriving at the forefront, an almost new space race, with Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson both having spaceflight. We know that Elon Musk is developing SpaceX as well. I think this is still in the early stages of the story, but over this next decade, I'm sure that this spaceflight and space discussion are going to become more important, and I'm sure that Elon will really find his way to be right at the forefront of those discussions too. And then he finished the year as the world's richest person. Depending on the fluctuations and gyrations of their own company's share price, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos went back and forth. But Elon Musk has finished the year as the world's richest person. What a past year 2021 was for Elon, as well as for Tesla as well. And then building on that discussion, decarbonisation is here and here to stay. COP26 captured significant global attention, but this clean energy transition is growing in acceptance. People around the world and society realizes that we have to make a change and we have to make it now, because otherwise we're going to end up going too far down the other side. There's an emerging ESG focus. ESG focused funds really drew a lot of attention as well around the world, and this decarbonisation trend is really feeding right into that. We know that lithium was one of the hottest sectors of the market. Many of the ASX lithium companies absolutely soared throughout 2021. They were some of the top performers, but the broader EV battery materials space as well was not left behind. And I think this is going to be an important narrative into 2022 as well. We know that there's a forecasted supply shortfall that's only likely to continue to expand as demand picks up. There has not been a significant amount of supply for many of these critical materials over the past years, but as we've started to have price signals coming through, projects are trying to come online. So this supply to demand dynamic is going to be very fascinating for the EV battery supply chain for years to come. Keen to know your thoughts too. Let us know which companies or sectors are on the top of your watch list for this green energy transition. Crypto, it's here to stay. It's gone from being a fad, niche, here today, gone tomorrow, to actually being here to stay, and it's had validation more broadly. We have seen funds accepting crypto with a small portion of the allocation to their total funds with the cryptocurrency. We've seen Bitcoin really entering the discussion. We've seen a range of cryptocurrency exposed asset types, funds entering the market, as well as some blockchain related funds and companies entering the top exchanges too. It's still in the very early stages of the development, but I think there is a broader market acceptance that cryptocurrency is no longer a fad. It's here to stay. Though of course there is a significant divergence in terms of interpretations about the role that it will play in the broader economy moving forward. We are seeing this broadening out of use cases for the blockchain. It was primarily financial and currency focused, but now with Web 3.0 and this transition picking up pace, the blockchain is really becoming more and more integrated with the digital world, and it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. As we've discussed, natural skepticism still remains for the sector, and inherent volatility has not died down either. I'm sure many of you can reflect your minds back to that May crash when Bitcoin crashed in and around to that 30k mark. But there's been small mini flash crashes throughout the year as well. And it hasn't been immune to sell-offs, and I don't think it will be. But that is part and parcel of investing or understanding the cryptocurrency space. And I think investors are becoming more and more familiar, or at least accustomed to, the price fluctuations. We can't reflect on digital transition and new technologies without reflecting on the metaverse. The metaverse has arrived in its earliest forms, but I think what's most important about the metaverse, virtual reality, Web 3.0, and this real discussion about this next transition in terms of digital technologies is that it's starting to be accepted in terms of society. This really was heralded by Mark Zuckerberg, rebranding, renaming, and stating about the realignment from Facebook, originally changing its name to Meta, with the focus now moving towards the metaverse. But we also know that the Web 3.0 transition is arriving and it's picking up pace. Games like Decentraland, Axie Infinity, and Sandbox have captured attention. But we know that games are only just the first forefront for this transition, and they're pilots. They're really showing proof of concepts and the ability and the scale of the technology. But this is only likely to continue to evolve, expand, and continue to develop really exponentially moving forward into this decade and beyond. Investment is beginning to flow into this space. Society is becoming familiar with it, but we really are just at the nucleus of this development. It's going to be really interesting to see the companies that really stand up to take charge, but also how this decentralized aspect of it all works and the types of projects they're able to grow out of this fascinating space and sector. FAANG stocks rule once again. 2021 saw a cyclical rotation. We saw a bit of a focus and a lens moving towards that value sector. However, the FAANG stocks continue to lead the way. The FAANG stocks are a disproportionate aspect of the S&P 500 now. Apple alone makes up well over 5% of the total S&P 500 index. Mega cap technology stocks were resilient and relied upon as portfolio staples and more defensive. And this is really underpinned by the fact that they are cash flow generating machines that continue to grow. There are always lofty expectations going into reporting season for the FAANG and the mega cap technology names more broadly, but they rarely disappoint. They continue to exceed these lofty and aspirational expectations, and that's why investors have continued to stick with them and really have leveraged this buy the dip mentality throughout it. Interestingly as well, they do appear to be leading the way with the innovation for this next chapter. Amazon with Amazon Web Services underpinning really this transition. We have heard about Apple potentially discussing an electric vehicle too. Of course, Google have so many investments across the broad spectrum of everything that they're doing. And we've talked about Facebook and its new realignment with the metaverse. I think one interesting thing for 2022 when thinking about the FAANG stocks and the broader technology sector is valuations are the question on every tech investor's mind. We know that this cyclical rotation threatens to pick up pace once again, with value becoming that real sector that's going to be having a lot of excitement, particularly as there are far more depressed valuations in comparison to the lofty valuations that many of the tech names are currently experiencing. But also in this rising interest rate environment, we know that companies with longer duration valuations, which the FAANG stocks on the by and large are probably going to be more insulated from in comparison to many of these mid-tier technology names that have got long duration valuations. They may not be profitable or cash flow generating yet. These valuations could come under pressure, and we've already experienced a valuation compression for many of these names. So I think going into 2022, seeing the value and the price that investors are willing to pay for tech names is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Well, I'm sure we all got a pretty stark reminder this year that markets are not perfectly efficient. There was excess liquidity throughout the system with the ultra-loose monetary policy as we had crisis time settings emerging from the pandemic. But as a result of that, with high household savings rates as well, we saw exuberant speculation and risk-taking in a range of pockets of the market. The poster childs of this were, of course, GameStop and AMC, but from sectors from BNPL to lithium and the EV sector to technology names, there was a lot of bidding up and exuberant speculation in a range of different sectors. We know that there were parabolic moves upwards, and what's been interesting actually throughout the 2020-2021 period is that retail investors have been playing an increasing role in global markets. There's been many investors that have come online over the past couple of years, particularly since the lockdowns were in place, and it's going to be interesting to see how many of these are retained in the broader markets or how many were just interested over the past couple of years, but as life gets back to a new normal, whether they forget about investing or trading. This is going to be something that's fascinating to see play out, and obviously it has implications for the markets and the different types of trends that we may see flow through. We've had to learn how to live with the virus. There was a period where it looked like we'd conquered the Delta variant and life was moving back to a new normal. However, the Omicron variant has sprung back up and it's reminded us that we're going to have to get used to this new normal, which is living with the virus, but it doesn't mean that it's going to have to affect the day-to-day operations of how we live. New variants are likely to continue to emerge, and interestingly, we may not be completely finished with lockdowns. The time of this recording, we see that Europe, some areas are under lockdowns, there are some mobility restrictions, and cases are continuing to ramp up in US as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this period plays out as we move into 2022, hopefully leaving the worst of the virus and particularly those restrictions behind us and moving into this new normal period. It wouldn't be a discussion about 2021 without a discussion surrounding monetary policy. Whether we were talking about rising interest rates, the potential speeding up of the taper, inflation or rising bond yields, throughout the year, monetary policy was at the forefront of these discussions. Before we explore why this was important, if you've enjoyed the past year, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. A big thank you to each and every one of you who've journeyed with us throughout the past year, who've contributed to the live streams, who've commented, who've got involved with the videos and helped to grow the community. From me to all of you, a big thank you for being part of that. If you are new here, welcome. We make daily videos each and every day, so make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on so you won't miss any of our daily episodes. As we've mentioned, the market got used to excess liquidity and accommodative monetary policy. As we move into this period of tapering and eventually tightening, watching how the markets react is going to be fascinating. So likely we'll see some volatility. That's a natural part of this period. But of course, the Fed are hoping to avoid the worst of it, like the taper tantrum in 2013. The central banks around the world have been forecasting and telegraphing this move so as not to spook the markets. We can acknowledge that inflation has remained more persistent than was forecast, and Jerome Powell acknowledged that with his final address in December. Tapering is going to be sped up globally before rates may rise. The Fed, with their dot plots, indicated that after the taper, which was forecast to end in March 2022 at the $30 billion per month rate, may raise rates as many as 3 times into 2022 and continuing that on into 2023. But we do know that Omicron is an unknown variable that needs to be navigated. Is it going to affect growth? Will there be further lockdowns? Is this going to be cramping the economic recovery that we just saw starting to hit its stride throughout the year? 2022 is going to be a fascinating one. 2021 had twists and turns. At the start of the year, nobody would have forecast what the year had in store. But looking forward to 2022, I'm just as excited. I'm just as eager. We're going to be here each and every day bringing new videos to you. We do 3 live streams a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Looking forward to growing together as a community. A big thank you to everyone who's joined us. Hope you have an amazing new year and hopefully you get some great rests before we get started for what promises to be a great year on markets. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know your thoughts on it all and what you're watching into the year up ahead with a comment below. For now, stay well and happy investing.